I'm at peace with myself. The state's about to kill me, and they think they're getting justice.
The safety and well-being of our children are of the utmost importance, but sadly, some in our society aim to damage or even kill innocent children. In this video, we will look at the disturbing reality of criminals who deliberately damage children, whether it's through physical abuse or other types of maltreatment. Criminals in general are disgusting, but monsters are those who abuse children. We will discuss how these crimes have a terrible effect on families and communities and examine their trials. These are the top 5 monsters. Let us have a look. Having sexually assaulted and physically assaulted a 10-year-old child, Lewis Matthews of Tampa was given a life sentence for dousing her in bleach to try to obliterate evidence. Lewis Matthews, 43, was found guilty of 4 distinct felonies following a 3-day trial. Kimberly Fernandez, the judge, sentenced Matthews to life in prison for physical battery on a victim younger than 12, as well as an additional 5 years for tampering with physical evidence and 25 years for each of the 2 felony charges of lewd or lascivious conduct towards a victim younger than 12, in addition to a life sentence. Watching a victim testify in court after being physically abused by someone who was meant to be watching over her is painful. That is why I'm so pleased with our prosecutor's job to hold these perpetrators accountable, stand up for the victims, and put these predators away for life, Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren said in a statement. According to Warren's office, the 10-year-old told investigators and later a courtroom about the night she fell asleep on her living room floor while her mother's boyfriend was visiting at around 3:30 a.m. on April 13, 2019. She said Matthews woke her up, undressed her, and sexually assaulted her as he drove towards a nearby gas station. Matthews led the young woman into the shop, where he retrieved a bottle of Clorox bleach from a shelf and led her to the restroom. He then told the young woman to take off her clothes and bathed her in the bleach. A jury found Matthews guilty of 4 felonies. There were no comments made during the sentencing hearing on his behalf or that of the victim. Investigators were able to find traces of Matthews' DNA on the girl's body, clothing, and the bleach-stained underwear he forced her to throw away in the gas station's dumpster. And there were also traces of Matthews' DNA found on the girl. Slayer Donald Hugh Davidson Jr. received a death penalty after being found guilty of murdering a 35-year-old Clay County woman and abducting and abusing her young daughter. Donald Davidson Jr. was also found guilty of Middleburg's physical misconduct felony, specifically describing Roseanne Welch's slang as horrible, awful, and cruel. The defendant's prior 2010 felony conviction for aggravated abuse on a pregnant lady, as well as his offender status from a 2005 conviction for lewd and lascivious assault on a person under the age of 12, said District Judge Don Lester, who also gave substantial weight to both convictions. He was putting on a jail uniform with stripes. As Lester read the passage, Davidson, 38, did not react. Davidson already pleaded guilty to 4 counts of attempted physical battery on a victim under the age of 12, as well as a charge of first-degree attempted physical battery on an adult victim using force. He also waived his right to a jury trial. According to the state attorney's office, there had been kidnapping, indecent behavior, and grand theft. In this instance, the kidnapping of a toddler and the harming and killing of her mother horrified Clay County residents. At least one chapter of the continuous misery for Rosie Welch's children, husband, and family, according to the state prosecutor Melissa Nelson, ends today. According to Times Union news partner First Coast News, who is also the primary attorney for Davidson, this is a sad day for everyone because no one won this case. Mr. Davidson has never wavered in his stance of accepting responsibility and being held accountable. And to be quite honest, he is not surprised by how this day played out. McNabb, Chris Baby Kalia, was discovered dead in the woods of Newton County, Georgia, only 15 days after she was born. The baby was found with blunt force trauma to her head and in a drawstring bag not far from the couple's trailer home 8 days after she was reported missing by her parents. Christopher Michael McNabb and Courtney Mary Bell, who has been charged with killing their daughter after taking meth the night of October 7, 2017, before reporting her missing the following day. There is, however, inconclusive evidence to prove the direct link between Kalia's passing with her parents, and one can say that it is possible that they were not. The parents, though, exhibited a shocking lack of responsibility, which was one definite thing. A Newton County jury deliberated on the issue, for barely 1 hour, concluding the case. Judge John Ott of the Superior Court heard McNabb's claims of innocence before handing down a sentence of 10 years of consecutive imprisonment in addition to life in prison without the possibility of release. Bell repeatedly sobbed as her punishment was being read by Judge, who sentenced her to 30 years in jail, of which 15 years are already served, plus an additional concurrent 10-year sentence. The accused, the judge, and the prosecution engaged in an emotional exchange. The court retorted that Bell's actions in using narcotics to create an environment like most criminals go in the face of what any mother would do when she said, "You all know I didn't do this." Bell claimed that she didn't. While the state doesn't think Bell physically damaged her child, Zahn did acknowledge that her neglect contributed to Kalia's demise, even though Bell isn't thought to have done so. Michael Sykes, a baby killer, will spend the rest of his life in prison for killing 2 young children and nearly killing a third inside a Staten Island hotel that had been converted into a homeless shelter. After 2 trials, Michael Sykes, 27, was sentenced for fatally knifing his girlfriend Rebecca Cutler and her 2 infant girls, Ziana Cutler, 1, and Malia Sykes, his biological kid, who was only 4 months old. A third child, Miracle Cutler, also sustained injuries but survived. At first, Sykes resisted appearing in court for the sentencing, which prompted Judge Mario F. Mate to order that be carried from Rikers to the courthouse, if necessary, by force. As his mate sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, he watched calmly. The Willowbrook Ramada room where Sykes lost his cool on February 10, 2016, was depicted by prosecutors as desolate. His fiancée was stabbed over 40 times, and he repeatedly knifed all 3 of his kids. His babies were left to bleed and die in a hotel room for nearly an hour before help could be summoned. Lisa Davis, a district attorney's assistant, said it's vital to note that Malia Sykes, the defendant's kid, was awake, conscious, and sensitive to pain when she arrived at the hospital an hour and a half after the defendant left the room, indicating that she was not unconscious when the defendant left the room. She was awake, conscious, and responding to painful impulses when he plunged the knife into her chest so deeply that it reached the mattress. She claimed that Miracle, who is now 5, had gone through more than anyone should ever have to go through in a lifetime, stated Deva. Sykes took the stand and claimed that his girlfriend killed the 2 babies, and he killed her after she turned the knife on Miracle. He didn't make a statement at his retrial, and the jury found him guilty of Ziana and Malia slaying and Miracle's attempted slaying. Earlier, a jury found Sykes guilty of killing Rebecca Cutler, but deadlocked on whether he had hurt the children. Granville Ritchie, the gallows, have been assigned to the man guilty of a horrific murder in 2014. Felicia Williams, age 9, was subjected to physical abuse by Granville Ritchie, who later killed her and left her body close to the Courtney Campbell Causeway. In September 2019, a jury in Hillsborough County found Ritchie guilty of first-degree criminal physical violence and aggravated child harm. After the women's guilty verdict was read in court, Williams' mother and father watched. Jerome Williams later told the media that he had forgiven the 40-year-old who had killed his daughter. Felicia Demerson claimed that she literally kept track of the days until Granville Ritchie was brought to justice, and she remembered saying,
"I've waited 2,310 days for this day to come.
I have waited 2,310 days for this to occur. I feel that the penalty is the right punishment. My heart hasn't changed. He needs to be like her." Although Williams' father stunned everyone in the courtroom when he announced to Ritchie that nobody of his attorneys nor any of his supporters had requested his forgiveness. He was coming to him and offering it anyhow. What do you think about the brutality displayed by these criminals? Leave a comment and let us know. This is all for now. Moreover, thank you for watching, and request you to hit the like button and subscribe button if you liked the video.